I have at times used a metronome on 2 and 4. It does help,
You know, and I remember the first time I was in Mike's apartment, I walk into his kind of like practice area, and there's Aebersold records all over the place. And I said, yeah, right. And he looks at me and he goes, no, I do these every day.
Michael Brecker practiced every way possible. But I got one question. What's better? Practicing with backing tracks, with a metronome, or unaccompanied practice? If you want to become better by optimizing your practice, if you want to get inside these practice methods just by adding simple stuff, do this. Remember that if you want to deep dive into this material, get the lesson manual on Patreon. I've written down all the steps, all the examples that you can play along while I'm saying it, and you can pause and play whenever you want if you need some more time to check out the material. Grab the deep dive lesson manual on Patreon right now. The download link is in the description right below. Some people think it's more fun to play with a backing track. But did you try playing with a metronome? Well, playing with a backing track can be fun, true. And it sometimes can sound better if you play with a backing track. But why? When you play with a backing track, you are actually forced to listen to a much denser sound because you got all the sound from the backing track. And in many cases, these sounds from the backing track that is supposed to help you takes away your focus from your playing. And what are you actually doing when playing? You're practicing your sound. Furthermore, when you have all these sounds, you're not really noticing how you're actually playing, and this backing track allows you then to play more sloppily. Let me give you an example. Picking one of my favorite tunes, Take the A Train, and I'm playing over the first 4 bars. It's really true, you get distracted by all the sounds, all the different instruments on the backing track. Of course it sounds like playing with a band, but still it overshadows your own sound. There's less room for you to think about your sound and how you actually want to sound. And this is very important because the backing track does not force you to be in the music. It does not force you to play the form or the melody. You're not forced to play clearly what you want to express. You can just play and it sounds good. Because when you're giving all these tones and the backing track is already sounding good and you just play something over the backing track, you sound good, of course, but actually it's the backing track that sounds good. I really believe that playing with the backing track takes away some of your individuality and some of your creativity. Not only the tones you're playing are important, the rhythm and your timing is also very, very important. So when you have all these instruments on top of your timing, the guitar and the piano and the bass, you're not really focusing on your rhythm, on your timing. Try thinking of this line as a rhythmical exercise. And you listen to it, I'm playing it with a backing track. Maybe it sounds good, but it's noisy. Now try to play the exact same line with the metronome on 2 and 4 and listen to how much you can hear of yourself. Your sound is so much more defined. You can actually listen to your sound, your timing, your phrasing, how your fingers move on your instrument. So my big question is, how do we make everything sound great? So what are backing tracks actually really good at? I think backing tracks are amazing to try different sounds on the chords. When you're working on a specific sound with a backing track, you can try out how these sounds over the chords of the tunes you're playing. For example, in the first bar of this line, I add a chromatic enclosure. And in the second bar, I use these E and F sharp triads to get the sharp 11 sound. I can listen to how this sounds on the top of the chords of the tune. But when you're playing with the backing track gives you a certain sound. When you're playing your own lines over this sound, remember to compare how you are sounding and how the backing track are sounding. Is this a match? So ask yourself this, is what you are playing actually a match on the backing track you're playing to? So what is it we need to practice when we're playing with a backing track? For me as a saxophone player, it's sometimes difficult to hear all the chords I'm playing over, so I need to train these on the saxophone. Often I use the piano as a reference, I play the chords, listen to the sounds of the chords. But if I work on extensions or upper structures, I need to hear them on the saxophone, and the backing track is a great reference. So playing a line like this, using the 9 chords, then I'm able to match this sound to the backing track sounds and the sounds of the chords. Let's get into some other ways of practicing. How about playing with a metronome or unaccompanied practice? When playing with a metronome on 2 and 4, you get this jazz vibe into it. Now try this exercise. Just line up a bunch of 8 notes over the 2 bars and play any chord note in any chord basically. I'm using the chord of Take the A Train, the D major. playing this exercise and focus on the rhythm, focus on your timing playing the swing 8 notes. When you have the metronome as your only rhythmical reference, you are forced to listen to the metronome and you are forced to listen to your own sound and your timing. You are drawn into playing with good timing because you hear it immediately. There's no concealing your timing. So try to play this line and make it swing as hard as you can.
I have at times used the metronome 1, 2, and 4. I get depressed when I do it because I rush, you know.
You probably realize when the metronome is your reference and you focus on timing, you swing so hard, it sounds amazing. Because all these extra sounds are away, they are not taking away your focus. The same goes for playing 8-note lines. Try only focusing on the timing. And suddenly, just playing the swing field becomes much more interesting and much more fun. What I mentioned earlier, sometimes as a saxophone player, you do not always have the sound of the chords and you need to train them. How do you do this? So we do not have a full chord instrument, so we cannot listen to the chords instantly. I think this is a great benefit for guitar players and piano players. They have the chords right there. But as a saxophone player, we need to drill them up and down. Take this process seriously. Play the chords up and down. Try playing it with a metronome. Really listen to how the chords sound on your instrument. So do you need a backing track for this, or do you need just a metronome or nothing at all? Well, yes and no. Yes, thank you, Sound, for the clear answers. How about starting playing these exercises with no backing track and no metronome, that you can focus only on the sound of the chords? Slowly build up a relationship to each chord sound. Get the feeling of the sound on your instrument. At a certain moment you want to hear the sounds of the backing track. Now play the exercise with the backing track. But also try to do this with the metronome, that you can focus on the swing and the sound of the chords. I'm saying also. Play it with the 2 and 4 feel. Play the root and then play a little line on the chord tones. The trick is to play the root and then play in a swing feel that you really can listen to yourself, not the backing track, because the backing track gives you everything. In this way you learn the sound of the chords on your instrument and you always have the reference to the root. So why not just play with the backing track and have all the chord tones given? It's much easier. Because you really want independence. You want independence of what you know, how you sound and how your timing is. Meaning that your timing on your instrument should be super strong, and you train this the best with the metronome. Your reference to the chord structure needs to be your own. You need to know what sounds you're playing on your instrument. Unfortunately, when playing with a backing track, it's so easy to play anything and you're not really forced to play the sound of the chords or the sound of the timing. So challenging your ears and your skills is not really there. So how about the musical feeling? You hear when I'm playing this line, I'm playing in a heavy swing feel. And obviously, this is important. And now I play in a straight feel. So your timing, your feel of the time is very important. You need to define what style you're playing. And now comes the groove hack. The absolute best groove hack is using drum grooves play-alongs. The style is clear and the feel is obvious. Because the drums give you everything you need. You are forced to play in the groove and you need to hear the chord tones. And I really believe that this will add an extra dimension into your playing using this in your practice. You can play any line in any feel. Try experimenting with this. My advice, don't stop playing with backing tracks, but think about what the backing track actually do for you when you are playing. What is your goal with your practice? You can get so much more out of your practice time by practicing with the metronome or just drum grooves. In the deep dive PDF this week, I have added so much extras for you. I made some specific exercise for you to focus on grooves, playing with the metronome and playing with drum grooves, but also some exercise on how to add new sounds into your playing using the backing tracks. Grab the Deep Dive Lesson Manual PDF on Patreon. The link is right below in the description for the easy download. You probably noticed I started out with some quotes of Michael Brecker. He's really a huge influence to me and a great inspiration. You should check out this video on how he plays some pentatonics. Play music, have fun.